Jimin removed? Jungkook erupts with fury in stunning public defense that shocks fans and industry alike. If you hurt him, you hurt me. With just 6 words, Jungkook shattered the long-standing silence that had veiled internal tensions within BTS, igniting a wave of speculation, emotion, and disbelief. The youngest member of the world's biggest boy group, known for his restraint and measured presence, unleashed an unprecedented statement on Weverse, raw, unfiltered, and devastatingly direct. But why now? And what drove Jungkook, the idol who has always played by the rules, to risk everything with a message that many say wasn't just personal but political? Jimin's increasing absence from major brand promotions and global schedules had not gone unnoticed. Observers had whispered about it for months. But when Jimin was once again missing from a series of high-profile events his fellow members attended in full force, the murmur turned into collective unease. For fans who track every movement, interaction, and official appearance of BTS members with meticulous devotion, Jimin's exclusion was more than suspicious. It was a red flag. Tension mounted when Jimin posted a cryptic lyric on his Instagram story just hours after Jungkook and team departed for an international event. The lyric, lifted from a melancholic ballad about betrayal and silence, sparked widespread concern. Some dismissed it as artistic expression. Others weren't so sure. But no one could have anticipated what came next. On July 29, 2025, Jungkook broke his silence with a post that would ripple through the fandom, the entertainment industry, and global media alike. He didn't name names. He didn't have to. Every line pulsed with a clear message. Jimin was being wronged, and he would not stand for it. "You don't get to choose who deserves kindness," he wrote. "If you hurt him, you hurt me. I mean that." The message, though brief, exploded. Fans immediately connected the dots. Jimin sidelining, his delayed solo plans, the absence from events, and now, a sudden defense from the group's most reserved member. Within minutes, tags like #ProtectJimin and #IfYouHurtHimYouHurtMe rocketed to the top of worldwide trends. Screenshots of the post flooded social media. Influencers and fans alike shared tearful reactions, visibly shaken by the raw protectiveness Jungkook had shown. The world was no longer just watching. It was listening, closely. This wasn't merely a show of friendship. This was a defiant act, an emotional stand against what many interpreted as an internal campaign to push Jimin aside. And the timing? Impossible to ignore. Just days earlier, whispers had resurfaced that Jimin's planned solo tour had been postponed again, allegedly due to creative disputes within the company. Reports hinted that Jimin wanted a stripped-down, instrument-heavy performance, a tour rooted in emotion and artistry. But the agency, insiders said, preferred something flashier, more marketable, more in line with what had worked for other members. But Jungkook's words weren't vague support. They read like a declaration of war, not against his company by name, but against the mechanisms, silent, unspoken, and calculated, that had seemingly begun to marginalize Jimin. More shocking than Jungkook's post itself was what didn't follow: silence. No follow-up, no clarification, no edit, no removal. And from the agency, nothing. Not even a boilerplate statement. In the world of K-pop, where even the smallest controversy is typically met with rapid-fire responses, this delay was deafening. For 48 hours, HYB said nothing. Not to press, not to fans, not even through quiet channels. That silence, ironically, said everything. Theories exploded across platforms. Some pointed to creative tension between Jimin and higher-ups. Others believed internal politics were at play, favoritism, perhaps, or misalignment between Jimin's vision and the company's strategy. But one interpretation rang louder than all others. Jungkook had seen enough. And he refused to stay silent. Media outlets scrambled to interpret the fallout. Korean television ran primetime debates over the implications of Jungkook's statement. International publications like Rolling Stone and The Guardian published think pieces dissecting the language, the timing, and the cultural ramifications of an idol stepping this far out of line for someone else. What made Jungkook's message especially powerful was its simplicity. No elaboración. No self-focus. Just raw defense. A reminder that in a machine built on polished images and corporate diplomacy, real emotion can still break through. Longtime fans began revisiting past interactions between the two. Suddenly, old clips of Jimin and Jungkook, laughing backstage, sharing subtle glances, supporting each other during tough performances, took on new meaning. Their bond was no longer just endearing. It was, in hindsight, quietly defiant. Protective. Loyal to a fault. This wasn't fanfiction. This was the real Jungkook, the man behind the golden magne image, putting his entire public reputation on the line for someone who, fans now believe, is facing more behind the scenes than the public has been told. And Jimin? He stayed silent. But it wasn't the silence of defeat. It was stillness laced with power. He didn't disappear. He didn't respond. He didn't feed the speculation. Some fans interpreted that as strength, a refusal to be painted as a victim or to let his narrative be hijacked by noise. If anything, his silence only sharpened the gravity of Jungkook's post. The backlash toward the company was immediate. Trucks lined up outside HYB headquarters. Not the celebratory kind, but support trucks, mounted with LED screens playing fan tributes, protest messages, and Jungkook's now famous quote. One screen simply read on repeat, "If you hurt him, you hurt all of us." It was more than a message. It was a threat. The fandom wasn't just watching anymore. It was mobilizing. Insiders, speaking on condition of anonymity, confirmed what many had feared. Jimin's artistic vision had indeed clashed with executive priorities. He'd been fighting quietly for months, trying to shape a solo concept that leaned on vulnerability rather than spectacle. But delays mounted. Meetings ended without decisions. And then, the exclusions began, for Jungkook to speak now, and in that tone, suggested this wasn't a recent development. This was pent-up frustration, the kind that builds when someone you care about keeps getting knocked down behind closed doors. And perhaps most disturbingly, many now wonder, had Jungkook tried to handle this privately before finally going public? The fact that no other members have spoken publicly on the matter adds weight. Was this coordinated? Was Jungkook stepping forward as a representative of something larger? Or was he alone? Acting on emotion, on instinct, on loyalty, some believe the move could signal a much larger shift inside BTS. Whispers of a jikook subunit, long speculated but never confirmed, have gained momentum. Fans theorize that Jungkook's post might be a prelude to a project born not from company strategy, but from personal resolve. Others suspect the incident could change how solo projects are handled within HYB entirely. Even prominent entertainment analysts admitted they hadn't seen this coming. One broadcaster said during a panel discussion, "This is the most consequential idol statement in years." Jungkook didn't just post a message. He broke a pattern. He disrupted the system. And fans weren't the only ones watching. Industry insiders, competing labels, even non-fans took note. This wasn't just a fandom crisis. This was a moment of reckoning in K-pop's tightly controlled machinery. In the days following the post, ARMY launched a new campaign. #WithAlwaysJim. Not merely a slogan, it became a movement. Fan art, covers of Jimin's songs, tribute videos, open letters, all flooded social media. And in the middle of it all, a single moment from BTS's Proof concert in 2022 was unearthed. Jimin had whispered into his mic, almost lost in the sound mix. "Even if no one speaks for me, I believe one of you will." 2 years later, someone had. And it wasn't just someone. It was Jungkook. Whether this moment marks the beginning of a larger rebellion or remains a single, powerful cry in the dark remains to be seen. But one thing is undeniable. Jungkook's voice has changed the conversation. The question now is, will the system listen? Or will the silence return, heavier than before for now? No one knows what comes next. But the balance has shifted, and Jungkook's words, etched forever in the memory of ARMY and beyond, have turned what was once speculation into something far more serious, a public battle over one of BTS's most beloved members. And in the world of K-pop, where image is everything and silence is standard, that alone is revolutionary. Jimin sidelined? The aftermath of Jungkook's shocking statement and the urgent need for critical reflection amid viral SP Sualitiao in the wake of Jungkook's emotionally charged public defense of his bandmate Jimin, the entertainment world has been left reeling. The magnitude of the statement, delivered without ceremony, stripped of ambiguity, and aimed directly at the heart of the issue, has reverberated across social media, newsrooms, and fandom spaces worldwide. And yet, amidst the storm of interpretations, tributes, and analysis, a more sobering question remains. Is what we are witnessing an authentic act of defiance rooted in genuine emotional strain? Or are we, perhaps unknowingly, participating in a spectacle carefully constructed for public manipulation? It is imperative that this conversation does not end with viral hashtags or emotional solidarity alone. In moments of mass reaction, the line between empathy and gullibility grows dangerously thin. The post from Jungkook, "If you hurt him, you hurt me," has been hailed as a landmark of sincerity and loyalty. But should the public so readily accept such a moment at face value without questioning its origin, intent, or possible orchestration? Was the message truly unfiltered? Was it spontaneous? Or has the machinery of modern media, fandom dynamics, and corporate interests blurred the boundary between authenticity and agenda? Let us examine what we know. Jungkook's Weverse post surfaced after weeks of fan speculation regarding Jimin's visible absence from several high-stakes engagements. Social media was already saturated with theories, frustration, and concern. The context in which the message emerged was not a vacuum. It was a cauldron of emotional tension, primed for explosion. This very context demands scrutiny. Was Jungkook's post a genuine rupture in silence? Or was it time to serve as a calculated disruption in an increasingly competitive entertainment landscape? This is not a baseless accusation. We must acknowledge that in today's digital era, platforms like TikTok, YouTube, and Twitter have accelerated the spread of narratives, often before any substantial verification can occur. The immediacy of reaction has superseded the integrity of verification. Viral moments are treated as truths. But are they, we must ask? Is Jungkook's sudden emotional exposure a mirror reflecting genuine frustration? Or is it a smokescreen strategically deployed to obscure a deeper internal fracture within BTS or the label that manages them? What cannot be denied is the effectiveness of the moment. The public rallied, the media responded, the hashtags trended, and within hours, the global narrative shifted. That level of impact is not insignificant, and it warrants interrogation. Who benefits from such a dramatic shift in attention? Could it be that this act of defense was also a redirection, a way to control the public narrative during a time of increasing scrutiny surrounding the group's internal dynamics? Let us not forget, Jungkook is known for his restraint, his careful calibration of words and presence. Why would such a figure suddenly erupt with a message so personal, so accusatory, and so public, unless he had either reached a breaking point or been prompted to act under pressure? And herein lies the core of our inquiry. Are we witnessing a personal crisis or a public performance? The distinction matters. We must also consider the information vacuum that followed. For nearly 48 hours after the post, HYB remained completely silent. This uncharacteristic pause only intensified suspicion. Was it a failure of crisis management, or was the silence itself a tactic, allowing public sentiment to swell and solidify around one interpretation before any corporate intervention could muddy the waters? The fanbase's response has been powerful, but it has also been emotionally charged, reactive, and at times uncritical. Online campaigns, video montages, and public messages of support demonstrate the immense power of community, but they also raise the stakes of accountability. Is it possible that fans are being used, not just as supporters, but as pawns in a larger strategic maneuver? This is not a claim. It is a question, one that demands further examination. Moreover, the sources from which this information has spread, TikTok edits, emotional YouTube commentaries, speculative Twitter threads, while vibrant and influential, are not grounded in journalistic rigor. Their primary currency is virality, not verification. We must ask ourselves, to what extent are we, the public, building emotional narratives upon foundations that are inherently unstable? Let us reflect. Has any verifiable statement from Jimin himself confirmed the internal conflict?
No.
Has there been a transparent disclosure of the alleged creative disagreements within the company?
No.
Are we basing our collective outrage on fragments, symbols, and emotionally charged inferences rather than confirmed facts? Yes. And yet, the emotional resonance is undeniable. Fans argue that this feels real, that Jungkook's voice, so rarely raised, must carry authenticity by virtue of its rarity. But feeling is not proof. Emotion is not evidence. Have we confused emotional intensity with factual integrity? It is time to step back, not to dismiss the concern, but to analyze its structure. What are the consequences of accepting every viral moment as reality? What happens when fans, out of love and loyalty, lose the capacity to question the very narrative they are fed? These questions are not meant to undermine the sincerity of Jungkook's words or to invalidate the emotional connection fans feel to their idols. They are posed to sharpen awareness, to encourage reflection, to insist that, even in moments of collective pain and outrage, critical thought must prevail. What if this moment, no matter how powerful, is a diversion? What if it is a well-calculated tactic to overshadow other stories, such as possible internal restructuring within the company, member contract negotiations, or even public fatigue with the group's current trajectory? Would we still view it as noble? Or would we feel manipulated? And then there is Jimin's silence. Interpreted by many as dignified and resilient, it has become its own symbol of quiet strength. But silence, too, can be strategic. Is Jimin withholding his voice as an act of resistance, or has he been advised, if not compelled, to remain still while the storm brews around him? Without direct clarity, any interpretation remains speculative. Which brings us back to the core responsibility of any audience, to remain vigilant against seduction by narrative. I end this era of media saturation and parasocial bonds. It is not only possible but common for individuals to feel personal ownership over celebrities' lives. Fans are no longer passive observers. They are active participants in shaping an idol's public identity. But with that power comes a responsibility to resist manipulation. Are we engaging with the truth, or with a narrative designed to pacify, redirect, or provoke us? Some have begun to speculate that a future collaboration, possibly the long-rumored Jungkook and Jimin subunit, is being teased through this controversy. If true, this would add yet another layer of suspicion, that emotional vulnerability is being commodified, that pain, or the illusion of it, is being converted into anticipation and profit. If such a project is announced soon, would it retroactively taint the sincerity of Jungkook's post? Or will fans embrace it as a triumphant resolution to a painful moment? This dilemma, between hope and skepticism, between emotional truth and narrative construction, is precisely what must be explored. By end conclusion, we ask the reader, do you truly believe that what you are witnessing is an unfiltered reality? Or is it possible, however uncomfortable to admit, that you are engaging with a narrative carefully shaped for mass reaction? Are you, as a consumer of information, prepared to separate what feels true from what is proven? Can you hold empathy in one hand and skepticism in the other? Will you allow space for uncertainty, or are you already too emotionally invested to question? We are not offering answers. We are raising questions, Because in a media environment defined by speed, spectacle, and saturation, the most radical act is not to believe, but to pause, to question, and to reflect. And so we urge every reader, every viewer, every fan, examine your own reaction. Trace its origin. Investigate its foundation. Ask not only what you believe, but why you believe it. In a world overflowing with narratives, the truth is not always the loudest voice. It is often the quietest one, buried beneath the spectacle, waiting for someone brave enough to seek it out. The moment is real. But is the story? We leave the question with you.